A woman in a rage will hurl almost anything at you. Kitchen knife really brought that home to me. Now you mentioned that yes, the window was open at the time. I didn't forget, but it's true. Window could have been open, we know that. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Because maybe now... A woman in a rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home to me. Like, if she's throwing around knives, that could surely line up. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. That might work now with the idea of what we've been going on around here. It might do. It might do. That woman in a rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home to me. There was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Like, maybe. I'm like 75% sure that's going to be connected then.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Yeah, rather than a contradiction, yeah. Good grief. You mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Juror number 2. Do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative? Oh my, whatever you mean. An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We've demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garrideb's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's weakly possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garrideb household to the street below. What's that now? After all, Mrs. Garrideb could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4? What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole? I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now you listen here, you Eastern gull. As the foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house, but what? What is it? I'm really taking a big gamble here. It was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up, unless we can find that missing tip of the knife. But I'm certain, at the very least, this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garrideb household to the scene of the crime was the knife.
Take that!
Juror number 4, Mrs. Garrideb. What? What now? I must apologize in advance for this. But I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Good Lord, counsel. What on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged into the victim's bag, man. Maybe you shouldn't have said that, because you kind of ruined our entire... Alright. Oh, my. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garrideb was hurling anything she could at her husband, who'd have been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the scene of the crime. Can't seriously believe that. The book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it flew out of the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand? Huh? Even my missus hasn't got a name like that. Yes, I admit, there are many details we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end, not right now. Oh my. Oh! Mrs. Garrideb, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not? Oh, And such. But she died. No. Someone get a medic. My lord. I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all. Thank you, madam. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman. I'd have to agree. Not that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. We did it! Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. So, as a result of the defense's summation examination, a number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty, against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. And this trial will continue. Oh my, it's gonna throw a bottle at me. It was obviously coming. Now then, Lord Van Zykes, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? Now, here we go. This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. You're gonna smash it? I feel like a smash it is coming. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. No, he threw it. I knew it was going to be one of them. But what follows is so repugnant. It's good for nothing save the gutter. If I may, Lord Van Zykes, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke, to which I barely know how to respond. But let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garrideb household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Garrideb's house to the scene is some, 15 yards. Let me see. 15 yards, that's around 14 meters. 14 meters? Oh, that's a little farther than I'd imagined. And as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted, as having portentous significance, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smouldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, travelled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? No. I think it travelled across the road and she went to pick it up, and then as she was picking it up, she got stabbed in the back by a knife that was also thrown. And did the jackknife follow a near-identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? Yes. This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. There's nothing I can say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Miss Susato? Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Maybe let's pick up battles here. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense, yes? Go ahead. The prosecution may consider the idea a fantasy. what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, Juror number 4, Miss Joan Garadeb, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination. Saints alive! Cross-examination of a juror? I mean, yeah, makes sense. Yes, quite. Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
There it goes. Oh my god! And unnecessary. Lord Van Sykes. There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. It was foggy. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Now, what day is it? What? Yes, sir! Constable Roddy Beach reporting for duty, sir. Well, good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir. Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Rodney, my hero, you make me swoon. Very well, hereby reject the defense's request. Oh. And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith, before the court, any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Yes, sir. He's still nodding off. Constable Beats report. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mr. Mr. and Mr. I don't know. It's very strange. Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. Believe me, a London Bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garadeb house are top-hinge casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rowley was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. Take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. That was it? Oh. I didn't really see anything there that, sparked my interest. This is quite startling, apart from that. Top-hinge casement windows. That detail was not in the police report, Constable. Yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir. I'm sorry, but what exactly is a top-hinge casement window? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course. Sorry. I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's room. Alright, I'll try. So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. Ah, I see. Yeah, that is an issue with these windows. It's because they would be hinged at the top, of course. So it's how? How could you get a book through there? Well, I'm glad they show you at least. I mean, it'll have to be perfectly angled, but it's still possible. But as it's a top-hinge casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see. I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents it opening? This is all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife were to have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. Unless you got the angle perfect, because it's like, yeah, if it went right through at that angle, it could make it across the road easily. It's possible. No. You see the problem then? Good. Your education in windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife travelling 15 yards over the road. Depends how hard she threw it. As unless the window pane had been shattered, something we've discounted already. That can't be. Did you see that, Rolly? That young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how he crumbled before me. Oh, Rolly, you're so strong. How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed. Counsel, if you could drag yourself upright again. The court awaits your cross-examination. My lord. Oh, good. Another desperate situation. Yes, you do find yourself quite in a predicament. Constable Beats report. I didn't really find it. The case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. Believe me, London Bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garrett house are top-hinged casements. So the only thing I can think of is the casements. Try and get more information about that. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I'd leave the scene to go and fetch help. Rochester Rowley was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. And take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Okay, that's the only thing I can think of right now, so...
Hold it!
By which you mean they don't open fully, is that correct? Yes, sir. They're just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see. So they're restricted as to how much they open. And therefore, anything thrown out of the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime on the other side of the rather wide road. Would it have been so hard for somebody to mention this top-hinge casement thing before? Well, I have another question for you, Constable. And what would that be, sir? How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house is furnished with? It's a good question. Well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday. Okay.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Mrs. Beat? Sorry? You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Oh, I was just remembering. That's all. We really were so lucky. Lucky? What do you mean? Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rowley's beat. We're so close, you see. Oh, I hadn't realized. On his beat? Oh yes, that street, Briar Road. That's the boundary between Rowley's beat and the next one. That's significant, then. Isn't that right, my love? Constable Beat. Yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with interviewing the occupants of the Garrett household yesterday. Right, so that makes sense of certain things then. So it's like, right, so the body was over here on this side of the road, we know that. So if he's talking to people in this household, then his beat is over here. And the cutoff is Briar Road, so they would not be over here and see the body, especially in the dense fog. So what were they doing over here? That's the question. So the only logical thing for me is like, well, the body then has to be on this side. So like those events that we're talking about, like throwing the book out and stuff like that, they hit the window and then went down below. And the body was moved to the other side. Which could only be, based on the people we've got available, you guys. But why would you move the body? That's the thing, it's like that logic makes sense based on everything we got here, based on his beat and stuff like that. But why? Why would you do it? I don't know. I wonder if that also explains his hat as well. Maybe he got hit on the head by something there. And their house is on my beat, you see. So. It really was cutting it close then. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garrett household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well? Outside Mr. Garrett's house? Yes, Mom. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of the Briar Road, he would never have been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of a Bobby, after all. Extraordinary people are Bobbies, tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners. Do you know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for all of his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling? That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll take care of it immediately. Pavement where the victim was found lies just outside Constable Beat's beat, border of which runs down the middle of Briar Road. That's significant to everything going on. Now it's my turn, I think. Okay, so what was the first statement? Is anything to do with the beat now? You take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report. I'm gonna press on the first one. I wonder if we can get more information about his beat and what the rules are about that. So believe me, London Bobby is good for his word. It's like maybe there's something there with everything going on. That's not what I wanted.
Hold it!
How can you say that for certain? Very good question, sir. And the answer is this. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. He showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? Can't say I remember. Patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man is what the job's all about. That's why I could stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobby's good for his word, while rubbing my tired eyes, admittedly. Son. Oh, Rolly. You're so manly. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, my. No, none of this is what I mean. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett? Ah, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir. Yes. Well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time, then. Absolutely, sir. I will answer it to the fullest of my abilities, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's domestic dispute can't be related to this case. But before I get to that, sir, just one thing. Yes? I'd very much like you and your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So I hope you'll take back some tales of us London bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived. So to that end, sir, I'll be happy to lend you my bond card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get through without shedding a few tears. Thank you, I'll try. Constable Beats warrant card has been entered into the court record. A small folding wallet that identifies London bobbies and contains the rules of conduct to which they must adhere. The rules are going to be important, I feel. So let's see here, what have we got? Item 1. A policeman will strive to persevere and preserve the peace within his allotted beat. A patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, the policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. That's why, isn't it? That's what's going on here. You guys had a dinner date. You had your anniversary. You wanted to get to your meal. And lo and behold, on his beat, there's a body there. A body has been discovered, everyone. And it's like, ah, crap. What do? We got a meal to get to. If we investigate this, we can't go get our meal. Let's move it across the road, seeing as we're so lucky we're so close. Then it's someone else's problem, not ours. That's what happened, isn't it? Obviously, if anything had been thrown out the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Let's press on this. Press on this.
Hold it!
Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer. Is that right? And why did you do that? That's right, yes. If it had been on Rolly's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat. So Rolly told me the way. Only, I sort of got a little lost on the way. Patricia, my darling. That's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. That's why you love her? What? Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, dear God. Oh, please. So, I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby is never really off duty, sir. Alright then, so we'll see about pressing on everything else, because I can't think of anything to, like, point at them just yet, because I've got that idea and I think it's right, but what do I point towards? I don't know.
Hold it!
Nothing to report. That's correct, sir. Had my eyes wide open the entire time. Never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. Unless you fell asleep. I can swear to that on the yard's honor, sir. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir? Strange, sir? Seems altogether regular to me, sir. Gotta add the sir. The burnt copy of the Lion's Pride is originally in the Garrideb household. The question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Aha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As you can see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, the book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. Two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her bag, how the book ended up in her hand. Must be some common thread between them. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir. Oh, yes, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell. Well, of course I am. What? I wasn't, I mean, what's she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. That was never the issue. You might just see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses. I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you? Yes, Mrs. Beat. I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one. That was a very loud mutter. I heard that. A Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Rowley won't. Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder?